Nocturnal news. So this 8647, I thought I'd switch it up a little bit today, guys. It gets very boring making UFO videos, so let's get into it. James Comey, former FBI director, leaves this cryptic message on the beach, and once I saw this, I immediately knew what it meant, what these numbers meant. Now, Don Jr., Trump's son, puts out a post and says, "Oh, that's nice. The former FBI director is just casually calling for the murder of my father." Awesome, right? It's a good day. Also, prior to James Comey putting out this cryptic 8647 post on Instagram, he posted a picture of himself reading his own book. And the plot of this book, okay, you have to understand the context here. The plot of the book is about fighting back against corrupt officials and ending with political violence. Okay, this is the book. The book is literally about the far-right extremists and a popular podcast guy. He's talking about Joe Rogan, but in the book, it gives Joe Rogan a different name. His name is Samuel Buckingham. Okay, bald guy tattoos, but this is totally not Joe Rogan. Okay, and how they're going to come up with a way to incite violence across major cities in order to regain power and ultimately take out the president. I mean, you cannot make this crap up. Okay, and the very next post from James Comey is 8647 with the little seashells on the beach. I mean, this dude literally wrote a crime novel, a thriller book about his own personal fantasies of the world, and what I guess what would have happened. It's kind of like that Netflix show, what is it, The High Tower, or The Man in the High Tower, or something like that. He says, oh, it's just a make-believe story that also happens to map out exactly what it would be like, or what I would do in this world. So, basically, no worries, everybody go home, look over there. This is just a make-believe story that also happens to map out exactly what I would do, or what it would be like if I could go back in time and alter the course of history. It's more like a manifesto rather than a crime, novel or thriller crime novel. So after he releases the book, okay, and this is important context here, the very next post is 8647. Okay, and then all hell broke loose. Now again, 8647, this means to assassinate the president or get rid of the president. And don't worry, we're going to break down, the meanings thoroughly. 86, assassinate. 47, Donald Trump's the 47th president. Assassinate Trump. Again, Trump is 47 and 86, okay? Comey, now he claims, he was just taking his little Sunday walk through the beach, down the beach, okay, on his private beach, by the way, and he just happened to stumble across seashells that spelled out the numbers 8647. Well, first of all, sir, you live on a private beach, and who in the hell would do that, okay? He did this, so he's lying. Okay, and before you start telling me 86 means to throw out some bad lasagna or some French fries, please watch the entire video, because that is absolutely not the meaning. We're going to go into the origin of the meaning. It has multiple meanings. Look, just like any slang word does, okay? But it's up to the interpreter or the context in which it is used and whom it is used by. But I'm sorry, Comey does not get to use that excuse. He knows better, okay? And at one point, look, I could give someone like James Comey, the benefit of the doubt, but look, this guy, he knew what he was doing, and it's just irrefutable at this point, okay? Maybe this was just an innocent mistake, but those days are gone, okay? You have to fully understand this man's history with Trump and political violence, okay? Because he has repeatedly pulled stunts like this, and a similar thing recently happened in 2020 with 8645, not 7, but 45, when Trump was the 45th president. So he's well aware of the meaning. Gretchen Whitmer was on a live interview, I think it was CBS, something like that, and in the background, okay, sitting on her desk, you see this 8645 object. It looks like a candle or something, I don't know, like a little placard, and there was a lot of backlash for this on the internet and the news, okay, and they started selling merchandise talking about 86 insert president. Okay, look, they even sold shirts about Biden, and I spoke out it, back then, because it was wrong, because under no circumstances circumstances is it okay to just, joke or make light about assassinating a president? If anyone ever did that in front of me, I would probably call the FBI. I'm not even joking. Like, I just don't play around with that. I don't want people to start normalizing violence, okay? I'm totally against it. If you knew my backstory, you would understand why, okay? In this story, look, it was all over the damn internet. It was all over the news. So you cannot convince me that Comey was unaware of what 86 meant. Okay, so back to people claiming this 86 means to take something out off the menu or throw out bad food. Okay, that is not the origin of the meaning, and I've done a deep dive on this. Okay, it was a term used by the mafia. Okay, by the military, by gangsters. It's been featured in movies, rap songs, and its term. Okay, I used this term growing up along with the men and women in my family that served in the military. I've heard my law enforcement friends use the term 86. Okay, when you say you want to 86 someone, that means put them in a coffin 8 feet long and dig a hole 6 foot deep. Okay, that's what it means, okay? Or drive them 80 miles out of town and bury them 6 feet deep, like Goodfellas or the movie Casino. The old rotary phones, okay, the 8 and the 6 out OUT spells, and I think that's really where it came from. Some people say the military. Dr. Dre, he used this phrase many times. In fact, on the soundtrack Natural Born Killers, they use the phrase repeatedly when they want to 86 somebody, something about something Buster kicking in the dirt, something like that. 86. Okay, it's been a part of our culture since I was a little kid, especially here in Texas. I mean, maybe it's different for you guys out there, but again, you can also find this phrase being used in The Sopranos when they're going to whack somebody. They're going to 86 them. Okay, in the movie Cars and several other very famous movies, they use the term 86 someone. So look, he knew exactly what I'm doing, and I'm sorry, this is not a game. You don't joke about stuff like that or chase clout on the internet or try to, hustle your books out there, okay, grift by insinuating, that you want to play footsie with words about assassinating the president. You just don't get to do that, and it has nothing to do with freedom of speech, okay, which you guys know I am a freedom of speech absolutist, okay, a huge advocate. But look, you can't, just like you cannot yell fire in a crowded movie theater. You can't say this. It is a call to violence, okay? And anyone that's used it in the past, I think they should be held to that same standard, because I know now people are pulling up old tweets and things from the past. Well, yeah, I think they should be held criminally charged as well, okay? And look, here's the thing. If you do, you're going to get a knock on the door, because that's exactly what happened to James Comey. Okay, the Secret Service shows up, they pick him up, and they haul him off, and, they brought him in to interrogate him. And before any of you say Trump has incited violence, well, if that's true, he needs to be brought to court and prosecuted. Okay, so again, two wrongs don't make a right. And again, I'm not defending Trump. Okay, he said a lot of really dumb shit out there. Things that I would have no problem with people bringing up and using against him. But two wrongs don't make a right. So, okay, back to the meaning of this 86. So, you mean to tell me, out of all the slang words out there, out of the entire English vast vocabulary, he happened to pick the one slang word that can be interpreted as offing someone? I'm not buying it that this was some innocent mistake and some seashells that he stumbled across. The whole thing is a damn lie, right? Again, people in my family use this term. Friends of mine that served in the military, they talk about, somebody getting 86. It's just a well-known term. Now, let me give you a little more context, because, look, I've been following this feud between Trump and James Comey for, 8 to 10 years. So going all the way back to before Hillary Clinton, when, she ran for president, Comey has a very checkered past, okay? And he's well known for one of the most corrupt, dishonest FBI directors of all time. And by the way, again, this isn't some type of pro-Trump video. I'm just reporting the facts, so please don't get upset with me. I'm just telling you what I have discovered in my extensive deep dive research. Now, first of all, let's remember how the FBI, along with the Department of Justice, the state of New York, and countless prosecutors have been going after Trump for a very, very long time. Okay, we can go over the timeline later, but just for time's sake, okay, let's just hop over to the Mar-a-Lago raid when the FBI ransacked Trump's home in Florida over some alleged sensitive documents. Okay, I don't know if you guys heard about this, although at the same exact time, Biden had arguably even more highly sensitive documents in his own garage, sitting literally next to his Corvette. Okay, when I saw that, that's when I knew something was wrong with the media, okay, just at the exact same time. But let's move forward. Let's take a trip down a memory lane and look at how the FBI, under the direction of James Comey, treated Trump over the years over some hyped up paperwork, okay, that he allegedly took from the White House. Now, I thought the top secret tape that the FBI put over the documents in order to create a dramatic photo op, that was pretty impressive. Yes, those famous pictures that you may have seen all over the news or wherever, the internet, was nothing more than a stack of papers until the FBI spread them out and wrote top secret, and put tape all over them in order to make it look like a scene out of a damn James Bond movie where the villain just gets busted, for smuggling top secret government documents, right? I mean, you can't make this crap up. Again, it was nothing more than a few boxes of papers. The FBI made it look like a Hollywood crime scene. They actually got accused of tampering with evidence and brought before Congress. And again, this is James Comey, and Biden, Bill Clinton, Obama, Bush Sr., Jr. They all did the exact same thing, and nobody cared, as nobody should have cared, because there was nothing important that Trump brought. They were souvenirs, okay? And remember, every single former president in the United States history has taken documents from the White House. It's almost customary. Like when you leave a job, you take some stuff with you, okay? But somehow this warranted a full-blown FBI raid when Trump did it. But no other president, just Trump, okay? And what did they tell us for, 6 months, right? Democracy is on the ballot. Well, funny how that works. Moving forward, okay. So, long story short, armed and dangerous FBI agents waving around automatic weapons, showing up at his Florida home in full-blown military tactical gear in a military SWAT team-looking raid, helicopters circling above. You got the media, zooming around, canine units, law enforcement personnel, guns drawn, guns ablazing, cameras rolling, police lights everywhere. They literally shut down like 3 or 4 square blocks around Mar-a-Lago, helicopters buzzing the sky. You would have thought this was a major drug lord bust or something in terms of the optics, okay? Again, James Comey did this, okay? Surrounding his home in a Pablo Escobar-looking police militant raid. Okay, wow. Okay, again, it looked like something you see in Hollywood. Going through his wife's underwear drawer. Okay, stories have come out how they were going through Trump's wife, the First Lady's underwear drawer in order to humiliate her in the early morning hours. And Trump wasn't there, by the way, but Melania was. So, the FBI has been after Trump for about 10 years. It's no secret, the former FBI. And we all know what happened to JFK, and people to this day believe the FBI played a role in that, okay? And then, look, it just believes where you land on that side of the conspiracy. Not to mention 3 assassination attempts against Trump. He got shot in the face, because that happened, right? And now we have a rogue ex-FBI agent leaving cryptic messages on the beach inciting further violence. And now all I'm hearing is, well, he meant, throw out some bad meat or throw a drunk guy out of a bar. I mean, it's like, okay, cool, I got it. Like, that's the excuse they're going with. It's lame, it's pathetic. And remember, Comey was the former FBI director that devoted his life to throwing Trump in jail. He said this, okay? The man put out videos fantasizing what it would be like to see Trump in a prison. He recommended a double-wide trailer behind the prison because it was Jake Tapper asked him, well, what would that look like? He's like, well, we'd get him a nice double-wide and we'd put it, but I mean, this guy's sick. I'm trying to tell you here, okay? But yeah, this is the fair and balanced, non-biased, neutral FBI, okay, that totally doesn't fantasize about locking Trump up in prison. James Comey, the director, went on to accuse Trump of Russian collusion, okay, came up with this fake dossier. By the way, all of this proven to be fake. Look, history doesn't lie, okay? You guys have been fed a lie on most of this, and I feel very bad for you. I do. Okay, tried to frame him, tried to impeach him. He has done everything in his power to bring down Trump at all costs, okay? Not to mention literally bugging and spying on the Trump campaign. And these are all facts, okay? Again, anything I say in my video, I made sure it was fact check true, okay? Again, literally spied on the Trump campaign, conspired multiple impeachments, investigations, personal and professional sabotage against Trump. It just goes on and on and on. I could make a 3-hour video about what this man has done to Trump, okay? He is one of the most corrupt people I've ever heard of in my life, okay? And this is coming from the crazy UFO guy, okay? And by the way, if all of this was being done to Biden or Obama, I would say the exact same thing. I really would. So this isn't about politics for me. It's just about justice and truth and transparency and just, you know, being a good person. And this is not good what's happening, okay? And again, I would make the same exact video. It's not about picking sides, okay? And look, and you would understand if you knew the full history of this man. It's just awful and pathetic. James Comey has been one of the worst law enforcement supervisors or superiors America has ever known. This man is corrupt through and through, okay? Even without any Trump involvement, Comey has been in so many scandals, so many, bad faith incidents. We just don't have enough time in the day to go over all of them. He was caught lying to Congress, lying in his books, busted on mishandling evidence 7 times, okay? Not 6, not 5, 7 times. So, look, we'll save the history of Comey for another day, but this man is so salty, okay? He's been going after Trump for years. 86-47. Let's get back to it. Now, what does this really mean, right? If you think about it, you know, people are saying it's about throwing out tomatoes or throwing out, you know, a drunk guy, 86 this guy, or 86 it off the menu. Yes, but like any other slang word, it's open for interpretation, and Comey absolutely knew that, okay? And he knew he was playing his little footsie game here, playing with fire, playing a very dangerous game. Again, you know, it's used in the military. It was used by the mafia. It's used by the police. It's been referenced in books, music, the arts, everywhere, pop culture, rap music. I mean, you name it. Like most slang words, it can have multiple meanings, and Comey absolutely knew that, right, when he did this. And then he lied about not putting the shells there. We all know he did it, okay? And look, here's the thing. And let me kind of close it up with this. This is the new assassination culture, okay? Kind of like the CEO of that medical group that was assassinated. You had people cheering all across social media, like praising this kid, okay? CNN did a story about all the fangirls that wanted to marry this Luigi guy that assassinated this man, okay? And this is a dangerous thing to play around with, okay? We had a lunatic hiding in the bushes next to the golf course with an automatic weapon pointed towards Trump. Not to mention what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania when he got shot in the face, okay? And now this guy, James Comey, puts out 86-47. You cannot convince me this was an innocent mistake. And if you believe that, I'm sorry, but I think you're being very naive or biased because you don't like Trump. And that's more upsetting, that so many people are just going to go along with this. And they won't even admit that, this was a bad idea. This was a mistake. This was just, poor decision making on James Comey's part. And people will defend this. And that's what upsets me the most. Okay, Comey is a very influential person. He is a public figure. He is a leader. And we have a lot of crazy people out there. They will act on these types of stunts. So there you have it. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think.